Its 75th year of service, like its first, is a proud reflection of a highly principled community with strong values and a commitment to caring for those who have less than others.
The social, health, and human contribution of Simcoe Hall Settlement House and all of the people who've supported us for the past 75 years is a history that we certainly didn't want to get lost. The agency itself, I think the most important thing is that it's a very proud reflection not only of what Simcoe Hall Settlement House has done and contributes to the community, but it's also a very proud reflection of the community that we live in.
Simcoe Hall Settlement House was established in 1935 by the Women's Welfare League in response to human and health conditions created largely by the Great Depression of the 1930s. During the war years of the 1940s, the Women's League remained active and dedicated to aiding the lives of less advantaged families and alleviating the consequences of poverty in Oshawa and surrounding areas.
Our role is to then develop programs and services that will respond to people and help meet those needs, not just the immediate needs of today, but we always try to program in a way that we're also looking at making their tomorrow better.
In the post-war years of the 1950s, Simcoe Hall Settlement House expanded its vision of a fair and equitable community in which all members could prosper by turning its attention to early education, intervention, and prevention programs for children and youth. Thousands of adults living and working in our community today once passed through the doors of Simcoe Hall to attend the Simcoe Hall Nursery School and children's after-school programs. Seniors were also welcome to participate in the community's first recreation and leisure program called the Golden Age Club, which still exists today.
The purpose of a settlement house was to establish itself in a house in a high-need community, usually in industrialized cities, and to work frontline every single day with the people that lived and worked in that community, and to develop health, social, and human care services that would benefit the lives of people that were living and working in those communities. We are actually one of a few remaining original settlement houses that still exist in the world. And the whole profession of social work actually evolved. It began with settlement workers, and then eventually it was more formalized and became social work.
The Women's League also embraced several ambitious community building projects in the 1950s and 60s, including the on-site children's gymnasium building, the construction of Eastview Boys and Girls Club, and the Simcoe Hall Children's School and Treatment Center, now known as Grandview Children's Center. Important programs such as summer day camps and Big Sisters were brought to our community by Simcoe Hall Settlement House. During the recession of the 1980s, Simcoe Hall expanded their existing food relief services and opened what has become the largest food bank in Durham region.
Last year, we took care of 1,148 families with food and toys, and that was the largest Christmas food and toy drive that we've ever done in our 75-year history. It was the largest in many, many ways. It was the largest in the amount of food that was donated to the agency for us to care for people, the number of toys that were donated to take care of children in the community, but it was also the largest number of volunteers that we had at the agency helping us do this work. A lot of people, when they said, "How did you do it in 2009, Christmas 2009, our response often was, "I have no idea how we did this." We literally flew by the seat of our pants, worked our volunteers really, really hard, but the community stepped forward every single day, all day long. People came to this agency and dropped off food items and clothing items and toy items so that we were able to achieve that goal.
Regardless of the times we live in, there will always be children, families, and vulnerable adults who have less than others and will be affected more than most by fluctuations in employment, changes in social policies, and shifts in the local and global economy. Its role in the community was then and still is to stand ready to respond with programs and services that assist the lives of less advantaged children and families in the most meaningful ways.
When we look at the 75-year history of Simcoe Hall Settlement House, one thing that I always try to remind people what a jewel it is in the community is we have been supported for 75 years by our community. So whether it's the person who drops off a bag of groceries, the person who makes a $25 donation, local businesses that support the community in some lesser or greater way, but when everybody works together, the service clubs, the faith groups, the students, everybody comes together, the fact that this agency is still thriving 75 years later speaks to the good intentions and the goodwill of everyone who lives and works in the city of Oshawa.